Joe Biden has consistently led President Trump in a handful of battleground states for months. Biden trails the president by just 2 percentage points in the state of Texas, which hasn't voted for a Democratic presidential candidate since Jimmy Carter. The Lone Star State holds 38 electoral votes, the second most in the nation behind California. Anthony Salvanto has more from the CBS News Battleground Tracker.
Let me break down Texas from our last poll and show you what's going on there. First of all, the president with a slight lead, up a point from how he was this summer. It's a tough state for Democrats to win. Maybe a surprise it's in play this year, but it is. One reason right now that the president maintains his lead, concern about coronavirus has been a key issue. There is a little bit more feeling among registered voters in Texas that efforts to contain that virus are going well. And then we look at the Hispanic vote in Texas, always important, Joe Biden tracking about where Democrats often do. But I want to take you inside the state now, look at it the way we will look at it on election night, break it down into regions for you. The first thing for any Democrat to be competitive, if Joe Biden is to be, is doing well around Dallas and the Dallas suburbs. Gains with college degree holding women are going to be key there. They were for the Democrats in the midterms, also around the Houston area and in South Central Texas, in and around Austin. Together, those areas cast more than half the vote. Now, the difference is that in these other large, more rural areas, Republicans really run up the score. The president may get overwhelming majorities of the vote, and that offsets how Democrats can do even if they marginally win, say, a Dallas or a Houston area, and that in turn makes it all about turnout. Texas often has relatively low turnout. It's only if Democrats can really drive up those numbers and make larger margins in those areas that they have a shot at winning the state. And that's a quick look at Texas. Elaine.
CBS News campaign reporter Nicole Sganga joins me now for more on the Trump campaign. Hi there, Nicole. Well, Tuesday on Red and Blue, we talked about the Biden campaign's current cash advantage. The Trump campaign has also been spending more money than Biden has. So just how much has the president spent so far, and what are most of his campaign dollars going toward?
So you know that the president's campaign with the Republican National Committee and its joint fundraising committees have raised over $1.3 billion, according to FEC forms that we saw last month, and they have spent well over 850, now 900 million of those dollars. These are unprecedented numbers. Now, just looking at the last month of spending, if you just look at August, Elaine, 3/4 of the money spent was made through American-made media consultants, LLC, which FEC filings describe as being used for television and digital ad buying. We should point out that American-made media company was the subject of a campaign finance complaint for allegedly serving as a pass-through to vendors, obscuring some of the Trump campaign's past disbursements that came from the Campaign Legal Center. But we know that the Trump campaign has been spending a great deal in September on television advertisements, far more than they did in August. In August, the Biden campaign ended up outspending the Trump campaign on television ads 3-1. The Biden campaign spending nearly $70 million in the month of August. The Trump campaign only spending about $19 million by comparison. This month, the Trump campaign has raised the heat a little. They've spent $65 million so far in September. The bulk of those advertisements airing in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, key swing states that the president needs on his path to 270 electoral votes come November. Now, also this past month, the Trump campaign and Republican National Committee spent a combined $6.8 million on campaign events. We know that the GOP convention took place in August, and we know that that's part of the reason why the campaign also paid $640,000 to the National Park Service for renting out that space and owed $185,000 to the U.S. Treasury.
Well, Nicole, in 2016, Hillary Clinton raised millions more dollars than the Trump campaign that year, but she still lost the election. So just how important is campaign funding? What role does it play?
Well, it's funny you bring it up, Elaine, because the president addressed just this in his remarks yesterday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at his campaign rally. He said, quote, "It's not about money. It's about other things. There are other things involved. It's not just about money." Now, of course, as I was talking to one GOP consultant this week, he said, yes, it's easy to say that it's not about money or that money is less important when you are the one fundraising less money. That being said, there are other things that the Trump campaign will point to that they say give them an advantage. That is, number one, that they have built an army of close to 2,000 field staffers that are right now working in battleground states, knocking on doors and trying to turn out the vote. They've also pointed to enthusiasm, signs of tangible enthusiasm on the ground. You've probably seen video of boat parades that they often point to, or Trump car parades, lawn signs. And so the Trump campaign trying to make the argument here that the polls got it wrong in 2016, that they were outspent by, millions, if not tens of millions back in 2016, that they're going to be able to do this all over again in 2020, and that they're in a much better place financially now than they were 4 years ago.
And finally, Nicole, looking forward, what should we expect here from both the Biden and Trump campaigns between now and Election Day?
Well, certainly we'll see former Vice President Joe Biden ramping up his travel. He was in North Carolina today, and we know that President Trump will continue to be on the road. He spent some time in Ohio and Pennsylvania earlier this week. He'll pop up in Florida tomorrow. We also know that there will be a continued ad blitz. We've seen that the Trump campaign has over $170 million in campaign TV ad reservations on the books. That's according to Kantar CMAG data. The Biden campaign has just over $220 million in ad reservations. And we're going to see the Trump campaign shift their messaging over to that Supreme Court vacancy. They're going to continue to fundraise off of it. They're going to continue to rile up the base by talking about the president's record of appointing Supreme Court justices that are conservative, and also conservative judges on some of the lower courts. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Biden campaign shift its messaging over to talk more about health care, to continue to put the emphasis on the coronavirus pandemic and what they say is President Trump's mishandling of it. The last thing to look out for, Elaine, we've got a debate next week on September 29th. It'll be in the battleground state of Ohio. And speaking with undecided voters, that small sliver of undecided voters, I know a lot of them will be tuning into that.
Absolutely. All right, Nicole Sganga. Nicole, always great to see you. Thank you.